High potentials are stuck in the succession process and they're not really moving. And this is a really acute problem that I see in a lot of organizations. And the scenario kind of looks like this. Last year we did talent review and Jane was ready in 1 to 2 years. And this year we do talent review again and Jane is still ready in 1 to 2 years. And not much has changed. There's not been much movement. That's a really frustrating element for our senior executive teams and for the organization to say we've sort of done the work, we've evaluated potential, we've started trying to develop, but we aren't seeing movement. The number one culprit, the number one why that I would focus on is the third bullet there, and that is readiness is not objectively evaluated. So our talent review process, and specifically if you're using a 9-box, what you're really measuring in a 9-box is potential, right? The two axes on a 9-box are typically performance and potential. And you're trying to figure out who has the capacity to grow and to become a leader at some point in the future. What I see organizations do is they over-index and put a lot of rigor into that kind of judgment. And then when the conversation shifts to readiness, it's not much more than a finger up to check the wind direction. It's not very rigorous at all. And moreover, what I see organizations do is sort of rush to a question about time. And so what we want to put a label on the person is they'll be ready in 1 to 2 years or 3 to 4 years or 3 to 5 years or whatever the categories are. And the flaw that I see there is you can't really answer the time question until you answer the if question. So the critical question isn't they'll be ready when in a number of years or months, et cetera, but they'll be ready if. They'll be ready if they have these experiences. They'll be ready if they have this, if they close the skill gap, right? And so if we answer that question, then we can put a time on it. But the number one suggestion here is your talent review process should be closely linked to your assessment strategy. And coming out of talent review is the perfect time to look at those high potentials and now assess readiness. One of the things that I would also add is we have to make sure that we are delineating performance, potential, and readiness as really, really different things. And the way that we assess those are very, very different. So using, for example, an objective assessment to look at someone's readiness for the next level. So we're forecasting them into the future and seeing where they stand relative to those requirements, identifying the gaps, and then moving people into an accelerated development program. Now, that doesn't say the 9-box isn't valuable, but I think too many organizations stop when they have placed the person on the 9-box, and then there's a very casual view of, well, what do we need to do next? How long do we think it'll take for them to get ready?